Dear Professor Moderator, dear ladies and gentlemen, as it was said, I represent Poland. My name is Izabela Lipinska, and I also represent the Poznań University of Life Sciences. My topic considers very important issues which are not only the European issues, I may say they are global ones, about the risk management in the agriculture. The risk affects agriculture everywhere in the world, but the farmers may get different supports in different countries. So it means that it affects all countries, all farmers. So if I have to set up the division of the risk within the agriculture production, I would like to make it very simple. I divided it into two groups. The first one I call the production one. That could be called a natural one or biological one. And the second group is linked to the market activities. Well, first one is linked to the climate change, weather change, sudden weather changes, to some animal diseases or some plant pests. The market risk is linked to some changes in the market conditions. The origin can come from the change of the legislation. And also the price variations, the price changes, especially after the reform of Common Agricultural Policy, when some selected markets are more open and they have to face more risk without the intervention system. So within those two kinds of risk, one can consider some different levels of the damages or of the loss. So we can call them as a non-severe. They are the regular loss that attach to any production, not particularly to agriculture, so the normal loss. We consider that the loss that is less than 30% of the yield, revenue, or the production. And then there is a severe loss, which exceeds the 30% of the regular revenue, as well as production, as well as income. And it could be expected that the size and the scope of losses would be negatively correlated. So it means that the larger losses would affect less farmers, but it's not really not true. So, but it's not always the case. For instance, in some member states, there is a risk of drought. It's probably hard to understand here, where is the rainy country, that the farmers can face the drought problem. So, but we do, especially in Poland, we do recently. In my subject, particularly my paper covers the evolution. So if I talk about the evolution, it means I have to say something about the past, the future, and probably the past, the present, and the future. One says, there is a proverb that thinking about the past and thinking about the future destroys the present. But in the case of the risk management, we have to consider all three of those. That's what I want to say at the very brief version, that the issues of risk management started to be very important just 10 years ago. When the first paper, it was like the communication of Commission to the Council on risk management and crisis in the agriculture, shown to the Council the need to implement proper provision to protect farmers' income. As the result, there was a regulation in 2009 implemented, which started the policy in that matter. But a couple of years ago, the legislator thought about only about crop insurance or animal insurance, and about mutual funds. But it has changed due to the Common Agricultural Policy reform. Now on that slide you have you can see the two main regulation, EU's regulation, both from 2013 and they are the result of the recent reform. The reform from 2013, which inaugurated, let's say, a new era of the Common Agricultural Policy and the development and implementation of different alternative risk management tools. The first one considers agricultural insurance, mutual funds, an income stabilization tool, which was not touched, which was not known in 2009. And the second regulation covers the issues of risk management on selected markets. What I mean the selected markets? There are 4 markets where you can find special provisions. The first one is the milk market. You know, the milk system, the milk quota system was abolished a year ago, 2015. So the legislator decided to prevent and prepare farmers, milk producers, to fight against the open market. And the second one is the sugar market. That's probably you know that the sugar quotas will be abolished in 2017 in September, when the next marketing year will finish. In both situations, legislators decided to set up some special power for the negotiations of the agreement conditions, especially about the prices. So it led farmers to protect themselves as a single persons as well as cooperatives. The third market, which is also covered by the special tools and provisions, is the wine sector, where the farmers, wine producers may use some special insurances or mutual funds to protect the production and income against the risk that may occur suddenly. And there is the third tool, which is called the green harvest. So it means that's the total demolition of the plants at the beginning of the vegetation in the case when the risk may occur in a close future. And the last market is the fruits and vegetables market. Both products are perishable. So in this case, the producers may co-work within organizations, and they may start to set up some special provisions for operational programs. So they may choose one out of the 9 programs to follow within the organization to protect against the risk. So it can be the setting up the mutual fund, it can be some special education activities, so such tools. But what is very important, what is the most important aim of those instruments is to provide aid to farmers to solve the problems related with the most common risk types. And it is very important to protect the farmer, to safeguard the farmer's income, to protect durability of agriculture production. Well, the issue was also touched by the World Bank, preparing some special projects on, for example, water management or the waste management. Okay, I got 5 minutes, I have to hurry up. So I won't talk much about the support, about the way we support them risk management tools. So I will go further. What are the instruments the farmers may choose? You see here a couple of them, like insurance policy, reinsurance, a kind of insurance, mutual funds, some saving accounts. Of course, it considers the farmers who are more wealthier. some fiscal and tax measures in the case when the risk occur and destroy the level of the production, and ad hoc payment. On the example of Poland, I will explain you what is it precisely. So it's very important that EU disposes some support, but governments have the responsibilities to bridge the gaps left out by the private sector. So there are two sectors. There is a public sector involved and the private sector involved. And the role of the government is to develop an enabling environment for the development of the private offered risk management instrument. Some of the instruments I mentioned are supported by the state budget or EU's budget, up to 65% of the policy purchase. Well, recently there was a model of risk management tool released that covers 5 levels of the support within the level of the risk and the financing. So from the bottom you can see the level number 1 that considers a farm risk management at the farm. So the farmer has to make the proper decision to protect the income. Then very useful can be the producer organization, which can help to put the goods on the market and negotiate the proper prices. And at that level, at both levels, the private insurance could be very effective. Then we have the marketable risk, level 3. If we talk about the loss less than 30% of the yield, still the private support, private insurance would be the best. If the loss of severe exceeds 30%, then there should be some support from the state. It considers the crop and animal insurance. Level number 4, we talk about the same amount of the severe, but in this case, we could both use the public-supported insurance and the mutual funds. The funds which the partners are the farmers, and they save during the good years, and then in the moment something happens in the future when the risk occurs, so the farmers who lost the income, they may use those finances. Finally, we are talking about the layer number 5, crisis management in the moment when there is a catastrophic risk, sudden, unpredictable, which brings a lot of loss. So a few conclusions. The European policy has enabled means to support instruments, build some kind of the umbrella. So all the legislation I mentioned has a kind of the umbrella, or they are kind of the umbrella, but each member state must implement its own provision that are fit within this framework. So the increasing exposure of farm holdings to increase agriculture markets volatility provides a rationale for strengthening the cover mechanism for market risks. And what is important, in my opinion especially, that each member state should start implementing some income stabilization tools or use in partly the direct payments. So then the implementation of income stabilization tools involved jointly with the reduction of the basic payment. And the idea of EU is not to harmonize the legislation, but just give the scheme, the framework. And it's necessary to join, as I said before, the private and public cooperation in supporting farmers in the matter of the risk management. And finally, it's important that all what is possible to ensure all activities mostly should be covered by the private. Something what we cannot cover by the public insurance should be also supported by the state. The fiscal tax measures can be very useful for the risk management, and we need some warning system that would work within EU, and I see a huge role of the producers group to support the farmers. The last sentence, if I can say about the ad hoc payments, which are very popular in Poland. So coming to the conclusion about domestic and domestic legislation, I may say that we have, or we use one important tool, which is crop insurance. The crop insurance, the farmers are obliged to get the crop insurance. They are not obliged to get the animal insurances. If they don't buy, if they don't purchase, if they don't insure the land, it means that they have to pay the fee. But for the farmers, it's much easier to pay the fee, which is €2 per hectare, than pay much more for the policy. And there's another issue that destroys the policy in Poland about, in the case of risk management, this is the ad hoc support. So the farmers, they wait and expect some state's activities to cover the losses instead of protecting themselves at the farm level. So the ad hoc payment should be only offered for the situation that cannot be insured. Thank you very much.